I think, to parents and to anyone working with the children, is that we should really separate language and communication. Very often they're together. Many they're just put together, and they're sort of, and then people say, well, communication is just language and use, but it's very different. It's years ago, I wrote a case study up that received a fair amount of attention. It was called Language Without Communication. And it was a child who was similar. He wasn't autistic, but he was sort of on the spectrum.
Okay.
And he was able, he was very quiet, never spoke. He was really electively mute most of the time. The only time his mother was so concerned about him. So what she did was set up a series of routines which made him comfortable, very set routines, going to get gas with all the devices, the gas station and so on. And another was making a certain food and so on. By the way, it's for parents who are interested, it's in some ways it's similar to the new film called Life Animated by a very well-known writer who got his son to talk, his autistic son, to talk through using Disney movies that the
yes, I interviewed another gentleman whose son did the exact same thing.
So when you give a very restricted field, it allows the children to develop the language. And what was interesting, so this child, it was like you pushed a button. When he'd see the gas station, he would start with the routines. And if you saw him talking with his mother, it didn't look very unusual. But as soon as the material was gone, he never spoke. Didn't speak to his mother, didn't speak to anyone. We eventually we were very successful, and we got him to function quite well. But the thing is, he had language. And language really is a system it's oversimplifying, but it has three major components. It's got the sound structure, and that's if we're talking about spoken language. If it's sign language, it'll have the signs. But the sounds of a language are very different from the sounds in the world. For example, a car noise or a brick falling or any, those are different sounds. But the sounds of language are very specific things. They're called phonemes, and they require a complicated system of processing. And the second aspect of language is semantics, which are the words we speak. So if I say papa, or if I say biba, those are phonemes. But if I say mommy, that's a word. And then the third major component is syntax, which is the grammar of the language.
Okay.
And so those are the three components. Now, communication is using those skills and also nonverbal skills, such as smiling and gesturing and using unusual body postures. Like this, facial expression. You can use both nonverbal and verbal means to communicate.